Hey everyone, it's Howie here with Quantum Possibility. In today's video, I wanted to share a technique with you that will really anchor you in the present moment. Now, the present moment is so important because this is where we have our power. This is where we have that ability to create the reality that we want to experience. But oftentimes we find ourselves dwelling in the past or projecting into the future and totally bypassing the present moment. So we're not actually in control of our reality when we're not in the present moment. So we need to anchor in deeply. Now, many of you might be familiar with like the Eckhart Tolle, you are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions, and becoming the observer of your thoughts and emotions. And that is extremely powerful. We're going to take that to another step where we can even be the observer of the observer. This will anchor us deeply. This will put us into total tranquility and peace and put us into an empowered position. So this is really awesome. So let's talk about the steps here. The first thing we do want to make sure we're doing is not identifying with our thoughts and our emotions. So we do want to start with becoming the observer of our thoughts and emotions. So what I like to do is put my hands on my heart here and then slow down my breathing, about 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out. And then I like to think of a love feeling like gratitude, for example, okay? And that's just to get my energy up. Then what I want you to do is think about your thoughts and emotions actually coming out of your body and being put in front of you. A good visual is like if you're sitting on a mountaintop and watching the clouds come by. Envision that your thoughts and emotions are the clouds coming by and you're just smiling at everyone. You're not identifying with them. You're just watching them and really seeing them as the beauty they are, but you're not claiming them as your own. You're just simply watching them. Okay, so from the perspective of the heart and through slowing down our breathing, we're taking ourselves out of the stress response and also taking ourselves out of our mind and placing our awareness into our heart. And this is going to allow us to disconnect from those thoughts and emotions and really become the observer of the thoughts and emotions. So that's a step one. We're watching those clouds from the mountaintop, just seeing the beauty. Okay, and that alone is very powerful. Like I said, that can take you out of the stress response, that can take you out of anxiety. I did another video on how to get out of anxiety using this exact technique, but I want to take it one step further. So again, we're on the mountaintop, we're watching the clouds come by. Now, can you observe from another vantage point you watching the clouds floating by? For example, maybe it's an angel looking down on you as you watch the clouds floating by. So you are becoming aware of the awareness. You are the observer of the observer. So try that out, okay? So we're the angel looking down on ourselves, watching the clouds go by. And you can do this with your eyes open or eyes closed. Just find what works for you. And what you might notice is you are very disconnected from the thoughts and emotions now. You've added another layer in between. So it's like, wow, you just have this feeling of peace and total presence. And this could equate to putting your awareness into your higher self or into the aspect of God that you are, as opposed to keeping all of your awareness within your physical vessel. And we're multidimensional, so we can actually keep awareness in this higher self while also maintaining awareness within our physical bodies, which is probably the best way to do it because we are here for a human experience. We don't need to always be necessarily in the higher self perspective, but we can always anchor in part of us in the higher self, which is really, really powerful. And what I'll do, even when I'm kind of walking down the street, I'll put my consciousness, my awareness into that higher self looking down on me, and I can watch myself interact with other people, especially if I get triggered for whatever reason. Boom, I instantly put myself into my higher self's perspective, the observer of the observer. And all of a sudden, that trigger goes away almost instantaneously because I'm no longer identified with the trigger. And there's nothing wrong with feeling emotions. I highly encourage you to feel emotions because that's part of how we upgrade ourselves and upgrade our consciousness is by anchoring in those emotions within our energetic field. However, bringing the higher self into our physical body is really taking the high road. And that's what an enlightenment is. When you can totally anchor in your higher self and live on that highest timeline at all times, that's enlightenment. That's living through total unconditional love. And one really interesting feeling that comes about when I do this, I don't have any children, but I almost get this sensation of like, oh, like, look at my child going through life. You know, he's so innocent and he's so cute. Look at him trying to like make things happen. That's almost like the feeling you get from that higher perspective. It's really interesting, but it's this sense of unconditional love, this sense of being a parent. And for those of you that are watching that are parents, I'm sure you could relate to that feeling big time. But since I'm not, it was really cool to kind of have like that fatherly, motherly feeling towards this little avatar running around life trying to make things happen. And really seeing the innocence and the beauty in this journey is really cool from that vantage point as well. So that's a really great way to anchor in the present moment, to anchor into your higher self, to give you a bigger perspective so you're not so caught up in the weeds or the trees, you know, seeing the forest from the trees, that metaphor. This is a really great way of doing that. And when you can come to this place of peace, again, this is where you're empowered. This is who you truly are. The fear and lack and scarcity, a lot of these emotions that we feel when we're on earth aren't really who you are. That's part of the illusion. So we want to tap back into who we really are as frequently as possible. And this is a really quick, easy way to do it. So I encourage you guys to test it out. Let me know how it goes for you. And I will see you on the next video. Thanks so much for tuning in.